Well, it was 1 week ago today that the Macomb sports community lost one of its most selfless contributors, longtime Bomber and Western Illinois equipment manager, statistician, and all-around good guy Dan Rouse to a heart attack. On Tuesday night, friends and family gathered to remember a friend, one who spent 40 years behind the scenes, keeping these programs running smoothly. We thought tonight a good time to share their thoughts on an unsung hero, the kind you can find in nearly every community, but those who get rarely their due.
Dan spent many countless hours at the field house, and I spent a lot of hours with him, and I always thought of Dan as one of my family.
Dan had a story about everybody, and he laughed at stories from the past years, and he really laughed about nothing at all. He was just a really happy guy.
No matter what, I'll always hear his laugh. I'll always hear him laughing and telling stories about former players and stuff about current players even. I just always hear him laughing, and it's a good thing. It's a good memory to have.
He was always there with a smile, and he was reliable Dan.
The Bomber Nation has really suffered a big loss here, and it's going to hurt the first football game when Dan's not there. And I actually talked to a lot of my coaches, and I said, the big thing is that we're going to forget something because, Dan packed like we were going to Alaska for the winter when we went to a football game.
He did so much that we really probably don't know all that he's done until it's not being done anymore.
My son, his freshman year, we get in the truck to leave practice, and he has Macomb High football jersey, and I said, we didn't hand jerseys out. Yeah, I know, but Dan told me I could have this one here because this is my number. And he did that for kids, and the things that he just helped the community, not only football but basketball, keeping stats.
He was the media's best friend. Anytime we did a Bomber football game or basketball game, he was right there with stats for us.
Created this thing we like to call the Orange Bible, and it's just a stat book that dates back to about 1910, and it took him 12 years to research and compile and things like that. And he's just there's not gonna be another one like him.
He'd been here 40 years, and some say a dad had number 17. You know what? He would give his son number 17, and then had a little brother coming up. He would get number 17, and Dan knew all this stuff, and he was just a big part of the Macomb community that took care of that stuff, and always helping kids out.
Dan was reliable. Dan was such a help, and it was about the kids for Dan, and that's what really made him special.
Just really became a huge part of the community. As a graduate from Macomb High, and he's just the heart and soul of it.
He donated a lot of his time. He was a part of that for 40 years.
He never asked for anything in return, and it's going to be a tough way this year without having him around. And a lot of people that's been around Macomb High also know that his sidekick passed away a few years ago, Butch Amarine, and the big thing is both Dan and Butch are smiling down on us right now.